Yeah, I guess. Yeah, louder.
Okay. So, because it comes up insanely quiet on the stream.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know why. I've like
Huh.
changed the volume microphone and everything. I don't know
I feel like I
what's
don't
wrong
really
with it, but
notice it, because I don't know, I just like turn it up if I need to, but
yeah,
is
yeah.
it like, yeah, huh?
Like the quality is fine. It's just quiet, but
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
Damn, my
All right,
camera's going
welcome back,
crazy.
everybody, to another episode. Well, what?
My camera's going crazy. Do you like
Oh
see it
yeah,
doing that? Okay.
yeah. I don't know what's going on. But anyway,
All
welcome
right.
back to another episode of The Sideline. My name's Richioza,
My name's Asher Hire.
and we have a plan out episode. Will
Oh
not go
yeah.
longer than 1 hour this time. We
Oh yeah.
we'll be talking about some surprising teams, some disappointing teams, and the Broncos through the first couple of weeks of this NFL season. Last week was, I think, surprising overall. There were a lot of teams. I think I saw 11 of the underdogs cover the spread, which is pretty crazy. Um, Out of 16 underdogs for 11 to cover the spread, that is very rare. And I believe eight of those underdogs won. So, I mean, it looked like it was going to be kind of a crappy slate.
Uh,
Obviously, there were a few good games, but turned out to be pretty solid. And it was a good week of watching football. So, yeah, let's get right into it. This has been, I mean, it's been interesting. A lot of the top teams that at least I thought would come out of the gates looking a little better than they have not. So, you want to start with surprising or disappointing? Which one? What are we going with?
let's go negativity first, and then we can
All right.
end positively. But yeah, as you said, like going back to that point of these underdogs winning, you wonder if it's last or this early into the season, just 2 weeks into the season, we don't really know what NFL teams are going to look like. They don't really know. All they've been doing is practicing against each other, except for a joint practice here and there, which can be used as a measuring stick. But by all accounts, it sounded like the Broncos dominated the Packers practice, and obviously that hasn't really come to fruition so far. But um, my first disappointing team, I'm gonna go with probably a team that you know some people would pick to go to the Super Bowl, perhaps in the AFC Championship playoffs. Certainly, I'm gonna go with the Baltimore Ravens. They're 1-1. I know that Chiefs game, was just inches away from winning. But man, I mean, there just really hasn't been anything to be excited about with this offense, other than maybe Lamar Jackson looking a little faster and more agile than last year. They haven't gotten the running game going at all. Derrick Henry had a big second half rushing the football, but in the first half, he had like 5 yards or something. Um, you know, the receiving weapons, they're decent, but they're nothing special. Really, in that Chiefs game, it was a lot of Isaiah Likely hero ball. Like he catches the ball, makes a defender here miss, another defender miss, and then walks in for the touchdown. That's just not. But they weren't like well executed drives, I guess per se. So that's a little concerning. I feel like there's nothing to really hang their hat on as something that looks like it could get better. The defense losing McDonald, has been disappointing too.
Yeah.
Allowing that many points to the Raiders, allowing that massive comeback to the Raiders. This is the main point I was going to get to, though, which is really concerning. This is an insane stat. Um, from 2008 to 2021, the Ravens were 79-0 when leading by at least 14 in the second half. Since 2021, the Ravens have blown 10 leads of double digits in the second half since 2021. And this is just another case of it. And I don't really know like I mean, it's a Lamar Jackson turnover, obviously, stuff like that. But for a team that hangs their hat on, John Harbaugh, defense, special teams, run game, that sounds like the perfect formula to win when you have a big lead. And from 2008 till 2021, That was happening, and now since then, I mean, it's just absolutely insane. It's like every, you remember the Dolphins game. I think the Ravens were up 27
Yeah.
at one point, and the Dolphins came back and won.
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, there's countless examples. Obviously, I can, go on. They blew two leads to Pittsburgh,
Hmm.
where whatever. Cleveland was another one. The Giants in 2022. I mean, it's crazy. So that is really what's most concerned about me is that trend continues to pop up, and in the playoffs, your weaknesses kind of come to light, and that could be a concern if they even make it there.
Yeah, yeah. If they even make it there, 0 and
So
2 is a really, really tough spot to start in for an NFL team. It's possible to bounce back, but man, it's tough, especially in that division. Um, it's really, really hard. Uh, I mean, I think they can rebound because I don't think Pittsburgh is going to stay that hot. Still very skeptical about Cleveland's offense, but um, so it's possible for both them and Cincinnati to bounce back. But I'm 100% with you though on that point that there's really nothing to be excited about when it comes to this Baltimore team. I feel like a lot of people expected huge things out of Derrick Henry in this offense, and it just hasn't happened. They've played two all right defenses, but they really should have annihilated Vegas. Like Vegas, Max Crosby's the one real threat on that team. I know that they signed Christian Wilkins, who is an incredible player overall, but also a great run defender. But I mean the what Baltimore pride themselves on, like you said, the Harbaugh system is run the ball and defense, and neither of those have been particularly spectacular through 2 weeks. So that's that was they were number one on my most disappointing teams, especially because they lose two close games. And as a championship contender, you have to
yeah,
figure out ways to win those games, whether it's on the road or at home, and especially against a mediocre team like Vegas. I don't know if bad is the right word, but a mediocre team like Vegas. So yeah, I'm right with you on that one. That double digit lead stat is ridiculous. 10
I know.
blown double digit leads in what just under 3 years, less than 3 years, is an insane statistic. That is a ridiculous statistic. I remember like when the Falcons were blowing leads left and right. I wonder if it was even that bad. I don't even
Yeah,
think it
I
was
don't
that
know.
bad.
Probably not. Um, so the Ravens were one of your disappointing teams, right? All
Yes,
right,
they
so
were
we
they
can
were number
move
one.
on. Moving on to number two. This one feels like a little weird, I guess, but I still would have put them there if Tua never got hurt. The Dolphins for me have been pretty disappointing. They've been outscored, by 18. Obviously, they got blown out by the Bills. But they could have got blown out by the Jaguars, who haven't looked good. If Travis Etienne doesn't fumble on the 1 centimeter line, the Jags are up 24-7, and that game's, pretty much over. Obviously, Etienne fumbles at 17-7, and then I think they scored a touchdown on the very next drive, and boom, they're right back in it at home. But outside of that, it's like their offense, which I thought coming into the season, Mike McDaniel, you would assume before teams really get a good read on the Dolphins that he would come out guns blazing. They have earlier with Mike McDaniel in the past come out really well to start the season offensively. And this season it just hasn't looked right. And obviously now with Tua going down till week 8 at least, that doesn't help at all. Not really factoring that into my decision of disappointing whatever teams through 2 weeks, but it is something to think about. They haven't really run the ball that well. Their defense hasn't been good. So I don't know. Dolphins, I was expecting a lot more. They've been disappointing for me.
Yeah, I was right with you there on Miami. I don't have them listed, but they were definitely a team that I thought of. But the Tua injury is the reason why they're not on there. Even though they weren't that good to begin with. Yeah, the offense was really, really disappointing in that Jacksonville game. The defense has done a good job, I thought, honestly. Uh, Josh Allen just owns them. I didn't even think they played that bad against Buffalo. It's just Josh Allen has some sort of mental hold over this franchise. Um, so I don't particularly blame them that much, but against Jacksonville, they looked really, really solid. obviously forcing that big turnover on ETN. But yeah, I mean, because it might take a while for them to get going. Offenses are hard, so that. But I did have them in mind. My number two team is it's another AFC North team in Cincinnati. I mean, they have really not looked great. Obviously, once again, it in Arrowhead against Kansas City is a tough matchup, and I thought they played good as well. But I mean, man, you have to be able to figure out a way to close that game out. And I just knew the second Kansas City got that ball back with like 3 minutes left, I was like, they're winning this game. I didn't care if it was a penalty. I didn't care how they won the game. I knew they're going to win the game. It happens every single time, and I just knew it. But I mean, yeah, missing the extra point, making it a 2 point game instead of a 3 point game. The Jamar Chase hasn't been very good. The contract dispute has definitely been a huge distraction for them over the offseason, and I think it has most definitely carried into the regular season as well. Joe Burrow hasn't looked particularly impressive. I mean, he looked a lot better um against Kansas City than he did against New England, but also losing against New England in week 1 at home, not good. Defense has been all right. I have to shout out Cam Taylor Britt because he stood on what he said at the very least, which was pretty solid. I don't know if my thing just cut out. What's going on?
Yeah, I know.
Hello.
I don't know what's happening. My thing just cut out, but we're back
Okay, you
now, I
heard.
think.
All right, I guess we're back now.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can hear. Yeah.
What did you hear anything? What, where did I leave off?
Yeah, it cut out. It cut out for like 10 seconds. You were just saying like with 3 minutes left that the you just knew the Chiefs were gonna. Oh, you said shout out Cam Taylor Britt also, but
Yes,
um,
yes. Shout
yeah,
shout out to Cam Taylor Britt. He stood on what he said, at least with talking about Xavier Worthy, and then gets one of the best interceptions I've ever seen on a go route on Xavier Worthy. So that was cool. Anytime Cincinnati and KC play, it's always a good game. But they you have to start at least 1-1 when you have
yeah,
New England on your schedule. And I mean, New England's played good through 2 games. I was considering putting them on my surprising teams list. They're not there, or actually, never mind, they are. So, the spoiler alert. But still, I mean, you have to figure out a way to win. Whether they score like 10 points, 9 points, they did not score that many
yeah,
points against New England, and that was really bad. And I think it's a similar spot that Baltimore's in, 0-2 in that division in the AFC. In the grand scheme of things, is really not good. It's possible to bounce back. Once again, I don't think Pittsburgh's going to keep this um, how good they've been. I don't even think they've been that good, but I don't think they're going to keep it up. But we'll see. But yeah, Cincinnati's my number two.
yeah. I was considering about putting Cincinnati on the list for sure. Obviously, a team with Super Bowl expectations starting 0-2 is like, very disappointing. And they haven't gotten Jamar Chase really going yet. T. Higgins has been dealing with his injury stuff. As you said, yeah, the contract extension whole thing is a big distraction. And the reason why I didn't put the Bengals on the list, I guess, is that I kind of expected them to get off to a slow start because of all the Chase situation and Higgins being injured and Joe Burrow being injured throughout all of training camp and them not playing any of their players in the preseason. I expected that Patriots game to be close. Do I expect them to lose? Not necessarily, but I thought that was kind of a tough matchup going against a defense that's been good for 15 plus straight years. So, and then, they go to Kansas City and they look good to me. They should have won that game. Patrick Mahomes, that was his lowest career passing yard game of his career, 151 yards, and he still wins, of course. He throws a pick, and then the very next play is like a fumble six, of course. Um, so I mean, I thought the Bengals, looked good. So that's why I also didn't put them on this list. Is that they should have definitely won that game at Arrowhead. And I think there's definitely some promise for them in the future once they get everybody going. It's concerning to be 0-2, but they've been in this position before, starting off slowly. Joe Burrow,
That
I
is
saw
true.
a stat. I'm forgetting what it is, but it's a really bad record in his first 2 games to start a season, and
Yeah,
then
I
they
saw. I
come
think
back
it's
eventually.
since
So
like I think it's since like 2019, like 1-10 in their first two games of the year.
Wow.
Um, something I think it's since 2019 or yes, it's 2019 because it's been 5 years. So they're I guess 1-11 now
Yeah.
in those 5 years. Yeah, that is true. They are notoriously slow starting. They started off slow last year. The one season they kind of started off good is when they made the Super Bowl. So I
Yeah.
guess that shows it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I didn't put the Bengals there. But I mean, obviously a reasonable pick. All right, my third most disappointing team. Again, like maybe a little unfair with the whole Dolphins thing, but there was or like the whole Dolphins thing, but there was a whole lot of hype with this team coming in the season, obviously. Number one overall pick. The Bears have been disappointing to me. Um, their defense has been good. Their offense has been an absolute joke. I mean, it's Broncos level bad right
Yeah.
now. They're very, lucky to come out. I guess lucky, but their defense is good. But whatever. Their offense is lucky to come out with a win against the Titans somehow after Caleb threw like 80 yards or something like that. And then, against the Texans, didn't look good at all. I think Shane Waldron is not it, really. The Seahawks offenses that he had recently had a lot more talent, and they weren't really living up to what they could be with all that talent. And now with the Bears, there was like a video of him looking like he was calling a play, and he was like shaking. His hand was shaking. I don't know, like if he's nervous or something, but their running game, much like the Broncos, I believe Caleb is their leading rusher, just like Bo Nix is for the Broncos. Either way, I don't know if that's completely true, but um, the Bears' running game has been miserable. So, I mean, I expected a lot because of the amount of talent on their offense, and they can still pick it up. But they haven't looked like a playoff team to me, whatsoever. And I was kind of considering them making the playoffs in the NFC. Another disappointing part of their team, honestly, has been Odunze. Like, you see Brian Thomas in Jacksonville playing a lot better than he is, and it seems like he's losing momentum when you think about Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison, and Brian Thomas. It seems like they're kind of separating themselves, super early. But Rome Odunze just isn't that explosive guy. He's a route runner, and I don't know. He hasn't been very impressive to me. Keenan Allen being injured, who would have guessed? And so yeah, the Bears offense overall has been disappointing.
Yeah, Bears were definitely. I was they're in my mind, but I cut them a lot of slack because of the rookie quarterbacks, and more specifically
Right.
because every rookie quarterback has sucked this year. If one of Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix was playing good, then I wouldn't have used it. Well, actually, I guess Jaden Daniels has played fine. But both like they neither of them have looked particularly great or looked like they have like belonged, I guess. And I guess same could be said with Caleb Williams. So because of that, I'm giving them a lot of slack. But their offensive line has been awful. 7 sacks and 11 quarterback hits against Houston, really bad. And then like Rome Odunze, yeah, he's been disappointing. Keenan Allen being injured is not surprising, but it is disappointing as well. Odunze had a touchdown just go straight off of his hands against Houston. It was a tough catch. It was high in the air, but it should have been
Yeah,
caught.
I mean, he had both his hands on it. Yeah.
DeAndre Swift. Yeah, he had both his hands on it, so he should have caught it, and like a lot of it, both of his hands. I'm pretty sure good stats over his career, but he's not good. It's the weird. Oh, I think now I know why. It says my internet connection is unstable, so I'm sure that's why. I don't know why. This corner of my apartment just sucks, and I chose to put
Oh,
all of
really?
my electronics in this corner. Um, but yes, that Bears offense has a lot of dysfunction around it right now. So we'll see what Caleb can do. He's made a lot of good plays. He had a couple moments against Houston. He had a couple moments against Houston where I was watching. I was like, man, that looks like what he used to do in college. But you could tell the difference between the NFL and college because There's that one play spinned out of like 3 sacks and then throws it across his body and it's intercepted. In college, that's probably a completion or an incompletion. It's definitely not getting picked. Um, and then there was another one where he broke out of a few sacks, tried to run up the middle for a big gain, and defensive lineman just breaks off his block and gets a sack. And I'm like, yeah, in college, that is most definitely not a sack. He's getting a few yards at least there. So I'm sure the speed is catching up to him a little bit with that. But my third team is Jacksonville. I have been really, really disappointed with Jacksonville. Last year, they started off really, really good, had a chokehold on the division, and just had a complete collapse. And unfortunately, it looks like that is, at least for the offense, it has carried over into this season. Their offense does not look good. It's weird. Jacksonville and Miami are such weird places to play because early in the year it just rains all the time. So offense is hard to come by in most of their games. It was pouring in the second half of that game, but they could not get anything going. Trevor has not looked great through 2 games. The running game hasn't looked great. ETN hasn't really had that much burst to him, which is really concerning. Him and Tank Bigsby are almost operating in like a running back committee at this point, which
Yeah. And
is something that
Bigsby's
I was.
been better.
Yeah, he has, and that's something I did not expect at all. A lot of people were saying that they liked how Bigsby was playing in camp, but I didn't expect it to be true. You hear that all the time that the backup is playing great in camp, but so that's disappointing. Brian Thomas has been great, which is a very, very good development after losing Calvin Ridley in free agency. They needed someone else to step up. He's been good. Christian Kirk's been fine. Evan Ingram missing last game was an issue, so that sucks. But still, overall, I mean, this team should be better than how they've played over their last like 8 weeks of football. I think someone said Trevor Lawrence hasn't won a game since like Halloween or something of last year, which is ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah.
that's an insanely long amount of time. Obviously, the off season, but he's winless, and I think his last 7 or 8 starts, and that is not good at all for a team that should be in contention for their division. And yeah, so I'm really disappointed with that Jacksonville offense. Their defense looks good, which is a good sign. Anytime your defense starts off well, it gives your offense an opportunity to play well, but their offense has not taken advantage of what their defense has done. And that's really, really, it's disappointing and it's concerning both.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And they would definitely be like the number one honorable mention for me. Um, it's weird. It's really weird because they have so much talent. Obviously, Lawrence is talented, but hasn't really put it all together. Um, I don't know. I wonder if you like look at the coaching staff, Doug Peterson. I mean, is it yeah, outside of his first year in Jacksonville, it's not that
Yeah.
nothing crazy good. Seems like his play calls just there's no like flow or like rhythm to them. Um, I don't know. It just seems very like just not great offense being ran um,
Yeah.
overall in Jacksonville. So I mean, yeah, that's tough. And as you said, I mean, he's lost like 8 in a row. I mean, when you haven't won in a long time, you kind of like forget that feeling a little bit, and it's hard to get it back. So that's concerning for sure. I agree. All right,
Yeah.
that was the negative, disappointing teams. A couple other there too. Honestly, the Lions have been a little disappointing. Um,
Yeah. I was gonna have
so
them as
still
an
have the
honorable mention.
Eagles. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Eagles actually, the Eagles are another honorable mention just because, man, I mean, their defense is just so like I don't know, it's just so easy to pass the ball against their secondary. Um, so far, I mean, it's just wide open guy after wide open guy. Same thing with the Cowboys, honestly, especially against the Saints, who will definitely be on the surprising team list. I'll get the obvious team out of the way, the Saints. Um, I mean, it's just so like annoying to me how these guys, these Colorado born Denver Bronco guys are like dominating the league, yet they're not employed by the Broncos. Clint
They
Kubiak's,
haven't gotten a single one. Like they got Gary Kubiak for 2 years. He's the best coach they had since Mike Shanahan. and then and then haven't gotten any of the guys who have come from that tree at all. It is ridiculous. But continue.
I mean, I just the Kyle Shanahan thing will always just boggle my mind. I mean, spectacular offense in Atlanta, and then like, dude, he's from Denver. Obviously, who would have taken the job? I mean, like, come on, bro. And then you go with Vance Joseph. I mean, that's haunted this franchise really ever since. Like, if Kyle Shanahan was hired by the Broncos, we would be in AFC championship after AFC championship. Maybe, losing to the Chiefs every AFC championship, but at least we have a good team. Um,
Yeah.
but since then, I mean, it's been bad. And then, obviously Mike McDaniel with the Dolphins, and now Clint Kubiak with the Saints, who's all you need is 1 year, dude. He was with the Niners for 1 year, and he comes, gets hired by the Saints, and boom, they just have a magical offense. Like whoever's under Shanahan is just gonna have a great offense. It's crazy. Um, man, I mean, there's a lot to be excited about this team. Derek Carr has been absolutely phenomenal after being really bad last year. Super conservative, just not really like the Derek Carr that we, knew in with Oakland. And it's like he looked at himself in the mirror, in the off season, realized, you know, I was pretty bad. I need to get back to my like, gunslinging mentality, and boom, there he is. And when you have Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave, who are probably top five deep threats in the NFL, and they're both on the same team, um, I mean, it's ridiculous. And then you have Kamara, who is Clint Kubiak's Christian McCaffrey here in New
Oh my
Orleans.
God.
He's
Yeah.
back to his healthy self, and he's just so elite. He's so fun to watch, man. I mean, 29 years old, which is like 70 years old in running back terms. Um, Plus, he's been dealing with the injuries over the past few years. You know, that's very surprising that he's back to his very elite self. The offensive line is unbelievable, especially the interior O line with
Oh
Ruiz,
my
and then
God.
they got Patrick, who's been amazing from the Bears, Lucas Patrick. I mean, their whole O line, like it's just the second you saw that Cowboys game, I mean, it's
The
really unreal
push,
how much they
the
exactly.
push
That's
that
what,
they
yeah,
get
the push
is
is crazy.
insane. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Saints are on my list
yeah,
as well. Yeah, I mean they've been incredible. I think they have the second most points scored through two games in NFL history. The other two teams in the top three won the Super Bowl. I think that the first team was the Saints in '09, actually, and then I don't remember who the third team was, but I know that that third team also won the Super Bowl. But I know the first team was the Saints when they won that with Breeze. But yeah, they've been incredible. I mean, Rashid Shaheed has been insane. He has three of the top five longest touchdowns in the NFL already this season, I believe. Uh, and yeah, I just said as a deep threat, him and Olave in there together is ridiculous. Kamara's been incredible. I think you put it perfectly. He is Clint Kubiak's McCaffrey in this offense. They've used him in every different way. They've used him in the passing game. They use him in the run game. Um, he's at 29 years old. I honestly thought he was older than that because of how long it's been since he's been at this level. Like it's been a few seasons since he's played
yeah,
this good. And honestly, I forgot how good this guy can be when he's on his game. And I mean, it's just anytime he touches the ball, his contact balance is so good. Like you can hit him and he stays on his feet so easily. Like you really do have to wrap him up. If you try and whatever this new wave in football is, we're just like shouldering guys and or like diving at their feet to try and trip him up. You can't do that. You have to wrap him up. His balance is so good. There's his last touchdown, the rushing one that he had, where he went through like four different Cowboys defenders up the middle, somehow scored it out the back end and got into the end zone. I mean that's what we've been so accustomed to seeing from him in the past, and yeah, if he's playing at that level, man, that adds such a different element to the Saints offense. Their defense has been
yeah,
incredible as well. Obviously, like that Week 1 performance, yeah, they played incredible, but it's against Carolina. Like you really don't you can't take anything that anyone does against Carolina like seriously, because they have been so bad the last 2 seasons. It's hard to judge that properly, but man, against Dallas, one like man, that's a very very strong win, and yeah, I mean that is very very impressive, and that NFC South is looking a hell of a lot better than I thought it was going to look at the start of the year.
No, for real. I know. I mean, the Buccaneers could definitely be on this list too. They're not for me though. But yeah, I mean, just real quick on the Saints, like they're the first team I think in NFL history to have three, dating back to last year, but three straight games of 44 or more points scored, I think. Um, so I mean, they've been great. Like, yeah, back to the play calling a little bit. I think the stat is that 48% of their passes have been play action passes, and that is kind of what seems to. I know that's what it seems to kind of be like the offensive kind of meta right now, I guess. Um, is like the play action. You think of like the Niners and all their play action stuff too. And Clint Kubiak is buying completely into that. And then you had this play where it was a play action screen pass to Kamara, but it's not like the typical like halfback slip screen where they just slip out like 2 yards to the left and then the offensive linemen immediately rush out to the left and try to block people. It was like a play action, and so the O linemen are blocking as if it's a regular pass. Obviously, they do a whole bunch of play action, and then Kamara, after he fakes that he gets the ball, just kind of jogs up like 2 steps right in between the guard and the center, and then all of a sudden that guard and center disengage from the block and start running upfield, and nobody in the secondary of the Cowboys knew it was a screen. Like the safety, the deep safety for the Cowboys is reading, the play the whole time, looking into the backfield, sees its play action, and then stops looking in the backfield, then goes and guards a receiver, and he runs completely out of the picture. And that's when Kamara just jogged into the end zone wide open. It was like a 50-yard touchdown screen pass. I mean, that's just like beautiful play calling rhythm and execution from Kubiak and the Saints offense. My second most surprising team, you said it earlier, they play tomorrow. New England Patriots have been surprising to me. Um, I mean, I'm not necessarily surprised at their defense because Gerard Mayo has been under the Belichick system for how many years? Like he's gone to learn from one of the best defensive coaches of all time. Um, for years and years and years. So he's going to know how to coach defense. Um, and that's exactly what they've done. They shut down Cincinnati. And then that Seahawks game went into overtime. That's the surprising part is that they have an offensive identity. It's like I wasn't expecting that, but they can actually run the ball. Um, or Ramondre Stevenson's really a beast. Jacoby Brissett's just been solid. Has done a pretty good job for them. So I mean, I just wasn't expecting them to be able to run the ball this well. Uh, um, Stevenson is averaging 4.5 yards per carry, and Gibson had a huge game. He's averaging over six
Yeah.
yards per carry. I just thought with them not having any weapons, that the teams, on defense would just be keying in on the run, and so that kind of just shuts down the run game. But it's been impressive that they've put up, serious offensive numbers, and Hunter Henry has, been amazing. He had 8 catches for 110 yards. They move him all over the place, do a whole bunch of different things. He's like their best skill position guy, Hunter Henry, out of all people, and he was really a menace to the Broncos when he was with the Chargers. I hated that guy, but now he's in New England and he's balling, so they're surprisingly good for me.
Yeah, New England. Yeah, New England was actually the first team I wrote down, so I don't know why I was trashing on the Bengals for losing to them, but they have been very, very impressive. Yeah, like you said, that defense has been the defense was very good last season. They were good the year before. Um, they were good. Obviously, they're good this season, and yeah, it all goes back to Gerard Mayo being a part of this scheme for as long as he's been. I don't know. I don't remember when he got drafted. I think it was like '06 or '07, and then he retired, went straight to the coaching staff, and has been a part of the Belichick system forever. He was on the coaching staff last year. He was interviewed for head coaching jobs last year. I think he kind of just was waiting for this Patriots job to open up, and he's done a really good job. He definitely has that locker room too, which is surprising for him to be able to hold it that fast. But when you think about it, I mean, these guys know him. The defense knows who he is. The offense knows who he is, and that honestly is such an underrated aspect of why they've been able to do it. A lot of the times, it's really hard for new coaches to gain the trust of the locker room, gain the trust of the players, gain the trust of the other coaches as well. And he's done a great job with all of that. And it goes back to him just being a part of the system for so long. But yeah, the offense as well. The offense has been the surprising thing to me. Like you said, they have an identity. Ramondre Stevenson, we knew he was good. I didn't think he would be able to produce like this. Antonio Gibson as a number two back has been really, really solid. Hunter Henry, I mean, he was cooking Seattle. He was absolutely cooking. He was open every time they needed him to be. Jacoby Brissett has done his job. He's gotten the ball to open receivers. Um, I believe Jalen Polk caught a touchdown
Yeah.
against Seattle. Um, and if they can get him going, he's should be their number one guy going forward. And that'll be a good connection with him and Drake May whenever May eventually starts. So yeah, they have a good system, and honestly, Drake May's in a pretty ideal situation right here. You're in a locker room that knows what they're doing. You're with a quarterback who knows what he's doing, and yeah, it'll work. I saw an interview with Brissett. I believe it was yesterday. One of their younger receivers, Pop Douglas, he was kind of frustrated with his lack of targets, and a reporter they asked Brissett about it. And he's like, "Yeah, did you hear about that? Did you talk to him?" He's like, "Yeah, of course I talked to him. Like I'm the quarterback, I have to talk to him, but I'm glad he's frustrated. It shows that he wants it, and that we're gonna do a better job getting him the ball." And I was like, "Okay, that's a perfect like leadership quarterback answer," and it's awesome for a young team that is not supposed to be good to have some sort of leadership at the helm. And Brissett's been he's been good everywhere he's went. Right? Like he's never had like awful performances anywhere he's gone. He was good in Cleveland. He's good in Washington. He's obviously good in New England the first time. So this is a guy who knows what he's doing. He's a vet. He's been around the corner. So
Yeah.
yeah, surprising the
I'm
Patriots once again. I don't know if they'll keep it up, but I've been very impressed.
Yeah, he's played behind Tom Brady. He's played behind Andrew Luck. He's played behind. There's one other very good quarterback he's played behind, but I'm forgetting right now. So yeah, I mean, he's got experience. He's good enough. So, yeah,
Yeah,
Patriots surprising. Third most surprising team for me. There's a lot that could be considered here. I was considering um the 2-0 teams like the Chargers, but then Raiders, Panthers. Can you? uh, so I don't know. They have been their defense has been surprising though, but again, it's like the Panthers. Let me just see like a couple more weeks of this, and then I'll put them on
yeah,
there.
yeah,
It's just like too. I just really got to see it before I believe it. Same thing with the Steelers. Pretty much echoes the same sentiment. Um, Cardinals you could go with too. They've been very good.
yeah,
They blew
yeah,
out the Rams and then they played the Bills really well too. Kyler Murray, maybe him or Derek Carr right now has have for MVP, which is wild. Through two games. Um, but this is another 2-0 team. This is my official pick, the Minnesota Vikings. Like for me, pretty obviously.
yeah.
JJ McCarthy goes down, and so you think whatever. The season's kind of a wash. We got Sam Darnold, that quarterback who, has been a backup for multiple years now. Hasn't really been very good when he is on the field, but he's a number 3 overall pick for a reason. He's been in probably the worst situations ever to like start out a career. It's ridiculous. Except for the Niners, he got to learn probably a few tips and tricks from Shanahan with the Niners going to the Vikings with O'Connell, who's just a mad genius on offense. That's really the thing about the Vikings is like their coaching staff with O'Connell offense and Brian Flores defense can beat anybody. They can outsmart anybody. And
Yeah.
when Brian Flores is outsmarting Kyle Shanahan, that just shows you how absurd he is. And post game, Brock Purdy went up to Flores and he was like, "Yo, your scheme is crazy, bro." And so quarterbacks don't just like say that. I mean, that's probably the most craziest scheme he's gone against. You just never know. Like they could come out with a all out blitz, every play like he did with the Dolphins, or just play two different coverages on different sides of the field. You just never know what they're doing, and he's always one step ahead. And O'Connell offensively, I mean, he might be the best offensive mind right now. Take with Sam Darnold, they look amazing on offense, and this is probably the first time in the O'Connell era that they've been able to run the football.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Dalvin Cook was like very good uh, when O'Connell was there. Um, so yeah, Vikings are for real. Honestly, like they can go deep in the playoffs. They're good.
Yeah. They are a good team. And I mean, last year they had some momentum. Obviously, the Josh Dobbs kind of a little insanity run that he had there for about a month and a half. I think we're seeing now, like, man, that's Kevin O'Connell. He knows how to get the best out of his quarterbacks. I mean, Nick Mullins, when
Yeah,
he was playing, he was putting up like 350
right.
yards. Like, yeah, he was turning it over three times, but he was also he was hooping out there. And yeah, they look incredible. Like you said, that coaching staff, they were my team as well, for my third surprising team. So I think we had the three same teams: Patriots, Saints, and the
Yeah,
Vikings,
yeah,
for surprising teams. But I feel like those are three pretty obvious ones, especially Minnesota. I mean, yeah, that New York game was surprising how dominant they looked. I mean, Sam Darnold started at what, 14 for 14, and he looked
yeah.
incredible.
Something crazy like that.
He looked incredible. But then they close out this game with how good that offense looked, without TJ Hawkinson, without Jordan Addison, and without Justin Jefferson, was incredible. The throw he made to Jalen Naylor, to essentially ice it, was unbelievable. Up the seam on his back shoulder, in between three different defenders. Incredible. He's been insane through two games. And yeah, like you said, I think this is the first time in this O'Connell era where they have been able to properly run the ball. They have a great 1-2 punch. Aaron Jones was never bad in Green Bay. He just left for a change of scenery. And they have a great number two guy with Ty Chandler, who's a good change of pace, speed guy who had a
Yeah,
really, really solid
yeah, he's
game.
good.
He's really, really good. And yeah, this offense has some momentum and has some speed to it, has some juice to it. And yeah, that defense, I mean, like they didn't start off great last season, to start, but man, they really, really got going towards the end of the year, and you could see the Flores scheme of just the insane aggressiveness that they have out there. And I saw there was a clip on All 22 that I saw, and it was insane. It was some sort. It was too high safety, obviously, because everyone runs too high now. And but they had like one linebacker in the middle of the field. They had two corners outside, and they had like six guys at the line, and they dropped back into Tampa two. They dropped back into a cover two look after that. And I'm like, how that it was ridiculous. It looked like it was going to be all out blitz, almost a cover zero look, and it turned into cover two, like soft coverage. And it Purdy had no idea what he was doing. Like he had no idea what he was looking at on the field. And yeah, I know for San Francisco, the amount of injuries that they have right now, and even sustaining that game with Kittle going out for a bit, Debo was not 100% the entire game. So it wasn't the best offense to showcase that against, but man, they look really, really good. And then we talked about it with Cincinnati and Baltimore. Starting off 0-2 is a really rough spot to be in, but starting 2-0 is a very, very good spot to be in, especially when one of those wins is against, a Super Bowl contender, a potential Super Bowl favorite in San Francisco, and closing it out the way they did was very, very impressive.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It seems like defensively right now, as you said, like the too high safety thing, and then maybe like this defense of putting a whole bunch of dudes at the line of scrimmage and not really knowing who's gonna drop back, who's gonna blitz has also been effective. Maybe with a soft zone behind that, if you do send a blitz to just prevent a huge play. Because the Saints kind of do that too. Like they'll put a ton of dudes at the line of scrimmage. There's one play against the Panthers. against Bryce Young. I kind of forget the whole end result of the play, but it looked like, like an engaged eight. Look, there were eight dudes on the line of scrimmage. It's just absolutely crazy. And then, just three guys, two corners, and then one high safety. And they sent seven of them. And Demario Davis drops back, and they create like a diamond defense. Like the middle of the field is completely open, but they got a high safety, two corners on the outside, and then a linebacker near the line of scrimmage. Um, you know, and they're just all manned up. And when you're sending seven people against Bryce Young, I think it ended in a sack or something like that. But yeah, that defense has been seems like it's effective, which is cool.
Yeah,
Um,
man, it's defenses are so complex nowadays. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, it's no wonder why quarterback play has seemingly declined over the last few years, at least in the regular season. I mean, last year was insane. We didn't really have a quarter. I don't think we had a quarterback throw for more than like what 35 touchdowns or something. And I see all these tweets online, and it's like, man, we used to watch gods play this position, and we did. Like we had prime Brady, prime Manning, prime Roethlisberger, even Tony Romo with how good he was. Like as a guy who maybe at his best was like a fringe top seven quarterback some seasons, but even then he would look like people are thinking he would have looked insane. But man, with these coverages, the amount of stuff that goes on in these defenses, the amount of different coverages that they're going to throw at you, the amount of different looks that they're going to throw at you. I mean, it really is no surprise why teams are struggling so much, especially teams with younger quarterbacks, which there are so many of them.
yeah, yeah. I mean, which makes CJ Stroud's year last year just all the more
Yeah,
impressive, just
yeah,
unbelievable. And then he went up and like gave Caleb Williams advice. You could kind of tell because like Caleb Williams has won the Heisman Trophy with Stroud, sitting down like he's accomplished more than Stroud at one point. Um, and for Stroud to like give him advice like he's some 20-year vet. It seemed like it turned Caleb the wrong, like, I don't know. He didn't really seem like he took that comment very seriously. He kind of seemed salty. Um I don't know, there's a little bit of that, like I wasn't, obviously, like I don't care about the whole painting nails stuff like some people do for some reason, but like some of the clips in Hard Knocks where he's like, "Oh, I don't get nervous," and then he's like, "Oh, practice is easier than the game." After he's played preseason football, like, dude, what are you talking about? You don't even get hit in practice. It's nowhere near as hard as the game.
yeah,
And it seemed like as we get into this Bo Nix Broncos talk, it seems like the young quarterbacks have just been overwhelmed with um
yes,
a lot. I don't know. I mean, Caleb Williams saying he doesn't get nervous to, then not playing well at all and looking extremely nervous. I bet he takes back that practice is harder than a game comment. And then, doesn't really take the Stroud advice very well. I don't know. That's just, I don't really like the overconfidentness from Caleb before he actually steps into an NFL game. But whatever, he's learning now. And so is Bo Nix, I guess. Maybe
yeah,
so are the Broncos. Maybe. Man, 0-2. They also could fall under a disappointing team. Honestly, I was thinking Bo Nix would be better off the gate. It is very tough. We kind of have to preface it, whatever, going at Seattle and then playing the Steelers defense. That's extremely tough. I mean, it's not
yeah,
Raiders Panthers like the Chargers have had, and they're 2-0, and Jim Harbaugh is 2-0, and Jesse Minter is a great defensive court. Like, relax, bro. Panthers.
yeah,
So it's tough, but straight up, I mean, it doesn't matter who the opponent is. Like, you can still kind of tell if your offense is like good or not, and they haven't been good whatsoever. You know, I feel like there's like three different things to look at on offense: is the guy calling plays, the quarterback, and then just the talent around the quarterback in the skill position and in the O line. And I'm kind of trying to figure out like which one's the biggest issue right now because nothing is working, and they're all issues. Like during the game, I was really mad with Sean Payton's offense. I just feel like there's no real creativity. like he's not helping out the run game. I don't think in his play calls. They do run a lot of different run plays, whether it's inside zone, outside zone, ISOs or tosses, counters, stretch. Like they do a lot of different types of zones runs, but there's no pre-snap activity before it to get the defenders moving. No real misdirection stuff. And it's just tough. Like like Javante's vision is not the best, and he's missed a lot of holes. But really, there haven't been that many. Um, and that's concerning when you think about Garrett Bowles being paid as highly as he is. Same with Ben Powers, same with McGlinchey, and same with who we thought was the best right guard in the league, Quinn Miners, and he's just been flat out bad so far. And I think an issue with this, so I'll get into like the I guess I think like the main reason is just the offensive roster is just not talented enough. Um, and you can get mad at Peyton and all this, but speaking of the roster, like Quinn Miners after the Steelers game, he said in his press conference that he's been having trouble being the vocal leader of the O line and calling the shots at the line of scrimmage since Cushenberry has left. Now he Miners is a captain. He's kind of tasked with the role of being the captain, of being a leader on offense. And he said in his press conference that he's more of a lead by example, and he's trying to learn more of how to become a vocal leader, and that's been really hard for him. And I think losing Lloyd Cushenberry has been huge because the O line, as I said, are all paid well. You think of all of them as above average at their position. And I just think the communication, between the line has been lacking. It's just not as good as what I expected. And then, the receivers, I'll let you obviously talk soon, but the receivers have been, you know, not good at all. It's still too redundant with Sutton, Humphrey, and Reynolds, in my opinion, all being like the same type of guy. I mean, there's just nothing. Man, Sutton as a number one receiver, that's just not him. Like he's a number two guy, honestly. And I think he would thrive in that role, in like a T. Higgins role, red zone, big body guy. But he's not the guy that's gonna get you down the field consistently or get open consistently like a Justin Jefferson, obviously, or any of those top guys. And Reynolds and Humphrey barely create separation as well. The one guy that can is Marvin Mims, and he barely plays. I mean, it makes no sense. 21 snaps this entire season, 21. He plays 12 in the Seattle game. Sean Payton says, "Oh, we need to get him more snaps," and he plays less snaps in the next game. Like, and he's the only guy that's been really getting open down the field. Like Reynolds had that nice catch on the flea flicker thing, but Bo Nix sailed the ball out of bounds when Mims was open against the Steelers, and then Mims was open against Seattle when Bo Nix threw that oh no interception off to the right when the announcer said oh no before it got intercepted. Mims is running wide open down the left side of the field on a post. And it's just like, and Nix looks there. Like, I feel like that was the read, and he just didn't throw it. Obviously, first career game, he's probably seeing ghosts, as the great Sam Darnold said. So I mean, that's probably why he didn't throw it. But I mean, Mims just gets open down the field for like, and he just doesn't play. I don't get it. But yeah, what do you think overall of this roster? I guess, and then we can talk about Knicks and Peyton. But like the roster offensively
Yeah.
hasn't looked good at all. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is a George Payton issue more than a Sean Payton issue. The more and more I think about it, because I look at the type of people that they draft and the people that they target in free agency, it's all very, very, very similar guys. And there's really no change in variety in the people that they get, no matter what the scheme is, right? I feel like the offense has the exact same thought process and the exact same personnel that it did in 2021 when it was Vic Fangio and his offense versus 2022 when it's Hackett and his offense versus 2023 and 2024 when it's Sean Payton and his offense. So I think that there's you said the redundancy with the wide receiver group. 100% with you on there. They need more variety. We talked about that preseason as a potential issue. Obviously, with them losing Jerry Jeudy, that I mean, he wasn't going to stay. You had to trade him for what you could get, and I don't think he wanted to be in Denver either. But losing a guy like that, who is a route runner and a guy who can get you yards over the middle of the field and after the catch, it's something that they don't have, and it's something that Bo Nix needs. I don't think this roster is particularly catered towards
Facts.
what he is good at. He's good at getting the ball to guys in space. He's good at getting the ball to guys in short distance, which he's done very, very well within 5 to 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. He's been very good. Once he gets past that, it's hard, but it's also hard because people aren't open. So he has to either force throws or make an inaccurate throw so it's not intercepted. So I think that's particularly that's the reason why he hasn't looked good when throwing the ball down the field. Um, and part of that is that I don't think they're playing the right guys. Troy Franklin has not done much yet. We haven't heard a lot from him. But at this point in the season, not even this point in the season, but you have to look at the production you're getting from the guys you're putting out there, and it's not enough, and it's not what Bo Nix wants. Give him more snaps. He played a little bit, but he didn't really get any actual action against Pittsburgh. He was inactive against Seattle. You have to play Marvin Mims more than 9 freaking snaps. Devon Villay was the main guy against Seattle. He was the go-to check down person that Nix was looking for. He's out on Sunday against Pittsburgh. So you're going to anticipate Marvin Mims actually getting some action
Right.
and getting some real looks. And he plays less. And I don't understand that. And maybe that's because Troy Franklin was in there. But why is Troy Franklin getting that preference over Marvin Mims? I mean, Marvin Mims has production. He has tape. He every time he touches the ball, something good happens on offense. I really don't understand it. So I think the criticism for Sean Payton, I don't think it should be necessarily based on the play call. I think it's more on the personnel because I think in the second half, Denver's play calling was a lot better. I really do think it was. Yes, they didn't score a touchdown, but I thought that they opened the playbook up a lot more. I thought they tried to go very, very simple to start off the game to get Bo Nix in a rhythm, and I think Mike Tomlin and Pittsburgh knew exactly that, and I think Denver played into it a little bit too much. But in the second half, they definitely pulled a little bit more tricks out. Like you could tell that they were trying to throw deeper, they were trying to do it. Guys were open, guys are dropping passes. Greg Dulcich had 2 bad ones. Nate Atkins had one that was really bad. We talked about the Mims overthrow that Bo had. So they did try. They did try, but I think that it's hard to do that when your quarterback is not comfortable at all. And I think the biggest issue that I had with Bo during the preseason, at least in the first couple of weeks, was his footwork. His footwork was not good, and he cleaned it up as it went along. But through the first 2 weeks, it has looked awful. I mean, every single interception he's thrown has been off platform. This one against Pittsburgh was awful. I mean, his feet aren't pointed towards where he's going. He's throwing off his back foot. He's side arming it. He's not, moving in the pocket well. So yeah, there's just a lot of issues to be going around, and I just think I know I personally overestimated the talent group for at least offensively in terms of skill positions. I thought it would look a lot better than it has. Um, but once again, it is against 2 very, very good defenses in Seattle and Pittsburgh. So we'll see. But unfortunately, it doesn't get any easier. That's the only issue.
I know.
I don't think we're going to see this offense really explode until week 5 or week 6 when they play um, Chargers and Raiders back to back at home. But the next 2 weeks are against Tampa and against New York on the road, 2 very, very good defenses. So I don't know what to expect going forward, but there's a lot of issues. And here's the other thing. Denver looked so good in the preseason that I think a lot of people, myself included, forgot that this is a rebuilding season. Like they did all the moves that they made, getting rid of Justin Simmons, getting rid of Russell Wilson, getting rid of Tim Patrick, moving off of Jerry Jeudy, getting rid of the guys who they're eventually going to have to pay and bringing in the people who they want to keep on cheaper deals long term because it's a rebuild. So they're not supposed to look good. Obviously, you want them to look better than this, but they're not going to be a good team this season. I think I know I personally forgot that and overestimated what
Yeah.
talent was on the roster.
Yeah, I think like the Texans kind of just like blinds everybody with the young quarterback. I mean, that just never happens of how good they were. But so I mean, that was like, there's a chance the Broncos could be the Texans. There's a chance, but doesn't look like it. Um, the running backs. I mean, I was saying in the preseason that Javonte wasn't impressive to me. Like he wasn't, and yet all I was hearing from Peyton, from Javonte himself, from I'm talking about both the Peytons, was that Javonte had a spectacular camp. Oh, he's back to his rookie self. I can't remember a single broken tackle yet. I literally can't, and that's his thing. Okay, maybe actually I do remember one, I think, against Seattle or something. But the first two carries against Seattle, good running back score, and I felt like that when those didn't happen, I was like, oh my god, man, how are you getting tripped up when you're this big? Um, like good running backs that are big like that stay up on and then obviously slips on the second one just because of course. But the first one, he should have broken that tackle easily and gotten a touchdown. Rookie year, he does that, and he just, I mean, there's nothing that he's done that's really been impressive. Um, McLaughlin, I don't really know. Like, I really like him, but have the holes just not been there for him? I don't know. I haven't really like looked extremely deep into McLaughlin, but man, that running game has been no help whatsoever. And obviously, you need something like that if you're going to have a rookie quarterback succeed. Um, and then, yeah, Bo Nix, I completely agree with you that footwork has just been awful. He looks, I mean, it's just stuff that's like just surprising to me, which includes his underneath accuracy, which hasn't been particularly very good. And then, of course, like the ones that he does throw accurately are dropped, literally.
Yeah.
The little Jordan one and then the two Dulcich ones. But like overall, that underneath accuracy hasn't really, been there for him. Like it just kind of left him so far. The intermediate throws are sailing over the dude's heads every time. And that just shows to me that he's nervous. Um,
Yeah.
the deep throw, which, was spectacular in college, hasn't looked very good, except for the one in Seattle to Reynolds on the left boundary. That was that's probably his best throw of his career so far. Um,
Yeah.
I never considered or I never thought about what you said about how these receivers just don't fit Bo Nix. Like I didn't really consider of how they would fit around him. And then you think about his college days, and yeah, you're right. Like Troy Franklin, Tez Johnson, they're just speed guys.
It's a bunch of
Um,
yak. It's a
yeah,
bunch of
yeah,
guys who make
exactly.
plays after the catch. Denver just doesn't have that.
And I know a running back hasn't made anybody miss. A receiver hasn't made anybody miss. Dulcich is the only guy, and he drops the ball. So I mean, yeah, it's bad. I wonder, going over to Sean Payton. So he's never really dealt with like a rookie quarterback. As long as he's been a head coach, I don't know about when he was an assistant and stuff, but he's never dealt with someone who's playing his first game. I think, at quarterback, and so I wonder if he is just too like if he is overwhelming Bo Nix, if he makes Bo Nix feel nervous. Like first of all, obviously the play calls, everybody knows about that, the really long ones. And that can be tough on a rookie quarterback if he's just thinking about the words instead of what's happening on the field. That's obviously terrible. Um, so I mean, there's that, and then I wonder if it's like, because Sean Payton is just so detailed with his stuff. It's like, oh, you missed the guy going across the middle, and so now like Nix is probably just thinking, oh, I can't upset coach maybe. Missing a read because that's what he's so used to. And I'm supposed to be the next Drew Brees. I need to hit every single read, and I wonder if that's just if Sean Payton's making Bo Nix nervous. And this offense that Payton is implementing. So this is like kind of where I was going in the first place. Like during the game, that's where my mind was at. Was that just these play calls are just horrendous, man. There's no motion. pre-snap. It's just West Coast stuff that defenders have seen thousands of times in their lives. It's been around, ever since the 90s or whatever. And then Sean Payton elevated it in the 2000s, made it extremely intricate and detailed with Drew Brees. But it just seems dated. And then you look at the Saints. The Saints were running West Coast style offense last year. You see how terrible they were, and now they make the change into the Shanahan stuff is still West Coast, but they got their own wrinkles to it, and it's more there's no wrinkles to this Broncos offense. You see the Packers offense with LaFleur, maybe they're a little simple, but they have that wrinkle of Jaden Reed and the jet sweep. That dude scored like 3 or 4 touchdowns already in his career off of the jet sweep. Like they just have different wrinkles in this Broncos offense. Just looks so static. Like they just come out in their formation and then just snap the ball. Like they're just man, it's annoying.
Yeah.
There was one read option in the preseason that worked for like 15 yards, and we haven't seen it since. I don't know. I feel like we need to take advantage of that with Bo Nix reaching 20 miles per hour. um,
Yeah. That's the other thing. Like certain successful plays and schemes. I mean, we saw it last year as well. They just don't do it. Like I don't know why Sean Payton will hold on to a lot of stuff for later in the year, I think. I don't know, but I mean, last year's offense was so good to start the season, and then once the team started winning, they just stopped doing it. They just completely turned it off. It just turned into short passes, bootlegs, run up the middle. Like it just was so simple. And I didn't understand it then. I don't understand this now where it's you can see things that work. Tyler Beatty had like one carry for like 15 yards and he didn't touch the
yeah,
field after that. And I'm like, what the hell was the point of even activating him at that? Like I really there's certain things that happen. Same with Marvin Mims. He was so good to start the year last season and then was turned into exclusively a returner. And it's like I feel like you're wasting his talents when he's out there. I feel like I don't want to say Sean Payton's like wasting players away because he obviously knows much more than I do and he knows what he's doing more than I do. But man, it's just a weird phenomenon where it just if something works, he doesn't want to keep doing it. And I don't know if he's just hiding it, if he's just waiting for something else to click, if he knows that's good and he wants to try other stuff. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, the other thing is like you could help Bo Nix out with reading the defense, and that comes from emotion or two,
Yeah,
where you can kind
yeah.
of tell if it's zone or man. Instead, Nix just snaps the ball and he just kind of hopes that what he's seeing pre-snap, turns out to what it is, and playing super complicated Seahawks scheme, and then just it really just a pain in the ass like Steelers defense with TJ Watt and all the oh my god, dude, Bulls against Highsmith was making me
Oh,
really mad
Jesus.
because McGlinchey
Oh,
actually did a good job. He did a good job the entire
yeah.
game on Watt, but it was the other side that was just horrible, bro.
Yeah,
Um,
Ben Powers has been awful through two
yeah,
games, but yeah, Bulls got his ass handed to him. Alex Highsmith was getting in the backfield like at will. It was ridiculous.
yeah. Um, this all this to say, like I do think the Champagne offense can still work though in this league. Like you think about the defense was playing that two's high safety, whatever, not allowing the big play. You'd think that feeds right into the strength of Sean Payton's offense, which is work the way down the field. Take what's there. You don't need the deep shot, and that's what the defenses are forcing offenses to do. You would think that plays into that. So I do still think like there are some promising things. There still are guys getting open. Knicks has missed a lot of open guys, or guys have. I mean, I forgot, and I'm just remembering the Sutton one where it was kind of behind him, but he could have caught it. I mean, he was wide open. There were guys open against Seattle for sure. Um,
If you
and
if you look at his like passing chart, it was much better against Pittsburgh. Like you could tell that they were throwing it down the field. Like against Seattle, I think it was like half the passes were behind the line of scrimmage or at the line of scrimmage. They were throwing it, at least closer to the sticks. It wasn't
yeah,
an
yeah,
insane downfield offense like, San Francisco or Miami or anything like that. But it was a lot better. And you
right.
could you could tell like he definitely looked more comfortable but the issues that he has are so pretty glaring, and I definitely think Sean has to help him out
Yeah,
with that.
and that's like that's another thing though is that he is a rookie and like you do need a guy who's been there, done that. I feel like to run a Peyton offense and Russell Wilson you would think would be that guy, but obviously we saw last year he's just not whatever. Sean Payton couldn't implement his full offense that he wanted to with Russell Wilson there. And he probably hasn't, with Bo Nix. So we still haven't really seen, I feel like, the best of Sean Payton. And I feel like that's to come. So like there's still hope. He's got every, you know, play in the book to beat whatever coverage. Like he knows the exact play to beat every single coverage. He knows the checks that the quarterbacks need to make. So like if Bo Nix can figure out the coverage, there's guys that will get open with the route concepts. So I do still think that it can work. I just want to see him just add something, like just something to help out Nix with or the offense. Just do like a motion, man. Just run the receiver from one side to the other. That's all you need to do. And I would be happy.
Yeah,
Um, but so yeah, I think it can work, but he's definitely not doing a great job of realizing I feel like that he might think Bo Nix was more I don't want to say smart because he's a very smart guy, but you know what I mean, like more ready to
more ready. Yeah,
uh
I
yeah,
think
just
ready is a
more
good
ready.
word. Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely think that they thought he was more ready for this than he was. I think you could see it during Seattle a little bit because they like switched up their game plan really quickly. Once Bo started missing a lot of the passes, they're like, oh crap! Like I don't know if he's 100% for this in the regular season. Like it shows the difference between regular season and preseason. Bo looked like you know the best rookie quarterback in the preseason, and now look. So yeah, it's hard, but I think you know this is the first time this is the first time I've experienced the true rookie quarterback um, experience, at least in terms of, all right, they start off, they're not going to look like CJ Stroud immediately, or like Baker Mayfield immediately, or like Kyler Murray immediately, guys who came in and instantly and were, you could tell that they knew what they were doing. Um, so it'll take some time. Obviously, I know Bo is an older guy, older rookie, but he is still a rookie. I mean, it's not like this dude was playing pro football beforehand or anything. So, yeah,
Yeah, I mean rookie
it'll
in the
work.
end, like dude, Brandon Whedon was like 28 years old and he was struggling
Yeah,
as a rookie. Like it doesn't matter your age, I feel like when you're a rookie and like everybody's still a rookie.
yeah,
Everybody it's still
everyone.
the first time seeing an NFL defense. So
Yeah, and it's just we talk about it in basketball a lot, but like the difference between college and NFL is so insane. It might be even bigger in football. Like it is truly ridiculous how good those guys are compared to what you see. I want to touch on the defense a little bit before we get going. Um, I I I had some strong thoughts about the defense in the first half of the Pittsburgh game because I thought they looked really soft. Against Seattle, I thought they were fine. I just thought they got gassed because the offense couldn't do anything.
yeah.
But in the first half against Pittsburgh, I didn't think they looked good, especially the run game, especially the interior. But second half, they really locked it down. They looked much better, and I thought that was a much needed sight from them. Um, my biggest issue with them is still it's one that we've touched on for a while. I don't think they have enough like beef up the middle, and I think that that's kind of their biggest issue. I like DJ Jones as a run defender, but outside of him, they don't have anybody. I don't think Zach Allen is a true defensive tackle. He is a defensive end, and I think they play too many schemes and too many formations where it's two defensive ends and two outside linebackers, and you're putting a lot of pressure on Alex Singleton to make a play up the middle, which is not good. Uh, so that's my biggest issue with the defense, but I think overall it's been fine. Um, especially I think the pass defense has been great. I mean, Sertan had an iffy game, I think, against Pittsburgh. Pickens beat him a couple times. I thought Sertan had some good plays. I thought one of the pass interferences was bad. The other one was justified. Um, but overall, I think he was fine. I thought Riley Moss had a better game. He looked all right. The safeties look fine. PJ Locke had that penalty, which was I don't know what he can do on it, but So that sucked. But he's been fine. Brandon Jones has been good. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the defense? Because I think there's a lot less to criticize about that part than the
Yeah, for
offense.
sure. That's why we were kind of just ignoring it because for me, it's been fine. Um, yeah, as you said, the secondary's been good. I think Riley Moss has really had a pretty good start to the season. Like, I know he allowed, a couple catches to Lockett. Lockett's a veteran, I mean, just savvy guy. And the one-handed reception, I mean, Moss is all over it. Like Geno Smith doesn't throw it that far outside, as either batted down or picked. I mean, he's right there. And then against the Steelers, yeah, as you said, I thought he had a great game too. He's just always like right next to the receiver. I feel like when it's getting thrown to him. So I mean, he's been good. Zach Allen's been an absolute beast.
Oh yeah,
He's probably been the
yeah,
best player really on the whole team so far. And no, I agree with you. I mean, the run defense has been an issue for a while now. I mean, a few years. Um, and we've been saying for like 3 or 4 years, like we do need bigger people up front. Like Alex Singleton having, setting records and all this stuff with tackles is great, but I mean that's also an issue. Like that's showing that one, he's either being beat in coverage, or two, really, it was what it is just the defensive line isn't tackling the running backs. Like they always get to the linebackers. And then, Singleton, as you said, that puts a ton of pressure on Singleton. And, as we know, he misses a few tackles here and there too. So I don't know. I feel like, yeah, as you said, just those four guys on the D line, like they'll sometimes do it where it's like two outside linebackers who aren't good against the run, really. I mean, Baron Browning and the guys rushing I mean, he's injured, which just sucks. There's injuries stacking up now, but
yeah,
um, the outside linebackers aren't great at defending the run. And then, as you said, like the guys in the inside, Zach Allen, and then whoever, is opposite of him aren't really, the biggest guys. And then they'll have just like two linebackers, outside of that. Um, and then, five DBs or whatever. So, I don't know. They are susceptible to the run for sure. They really do play a lot of DBs now that I think about it. Um, yeah,
yeah,
they just need more. But I don't know if they have like they got Singleton and Barton. Who else can you trust? In that
yeah. And that's
off the ball
I like.
linebacker.
Yeah, they really don't. And I honestly, that's why I was kind of pissed that they changed Baron Browning to a pass rusher because he's was so good as a middle linebacker and as an off-ball guy. And I'm wondering if I mean Denver's run a 3-4 defense forever. I don't know what it is. They
I
have really
know
not changed it since like 2010. Like
since
ever since they
Von Miller,
drafted
really.
Von Miller.
Yeah,
Yeah, ever since they drafted Von, it's been a 3-4. And I don't know I don't know why,
but I
but
even
that
before, like I'm thinking like Doomerville, like he was a
yeah,
three
Dumerville.
four
Yeah.
whatever outside linebacker. Yeah,
Yeah, I really don't know what it is, but I think it's probably time for a change because if you're able to stack it with four, if you do play four defensive ends, then I think it's possible. And then you have more guys in the box, and I think your secondary is good enough to where you can play four guys out there most of the time and survive in coverage. Uh, but you might need like a tweener guy in terms of like a guy who can play both linebacker and safety,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
to
That
bring
would be
someone
good.
down in the box and who can also cover. But that's a hard archetype to find. I
And
mean,
they're addressing that with Brandon Jones, but he's injured. Like,
well, he's been playing.
but I
He's
wonder if
played some.
Brandon, yeah, but he's out for next game already, and he was out the first
Oh, what?
game.
Really?
Um,
Come on.
yeah, he didn't
Who
even
the
be
hell was
in
even the
practice
backup? I
today.
don't. What?
I don't know. Yeah, you're right though. Like, I do like those safety hybrid guys. Like, if we had like whatever, like Palomalu type of guy would just be insane. But I mean, just even like I'm just thinking like Duggar, on the
Yeah,
Patriots, kind of that role.
like Jabril
Um,
Peppers type of guy.
yeah, I was thinking even like Mark Barron. That was like a while ago, but
Oh
Mark
yeah,
Barron
yeah.
kind
That's the
of
guy I was thinking of.
did stuff like
The
that.
tweener. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what
yeah,
I just think like maybe that's why they can't do it because they're not confident in their backers coverage, so they need someone else in there, which is why they play McMillan so much. Uh, but I don't know. I will touch on this. I promise an hour, we're a little over it. But there were two plays for some reason where Patrick Surtain was a gunner on special teams, and then where Jaquan McMillan was a gunner on special
And they
teams.
both got flagged, right?
And they both got flagged for it. And I'm like, what the hell is happening? What are you doing out there? There's no way. Like it had to just been like some like fluke substitution. Someone didn't
Yeah.
get on in time, and so they just threw whoever the nearest defensive back was out there. But like, are you serious? Because I remember a few years back, Denver had Josie Jewell out on special teams when he was still the starting linebacker, and he like tore his pec when he was going out to
Yeah.
make a tackle, and he was out for the year. And I'm like, what the hell? Why was he even out there in the first place? So that some things that happen out there, I really don't understand. Obviously, there's so much that goes on an NFL sideline. I went
I
to
yeah, I know. I
like
don't.
it's insane. Like so much goes on. I'm sure things are bound to go wrong, but having your two best defensive backs out there on special teams is such an insane injury risk, especially the guy who you just gave $100 million to. By the way,
Yeah.
why the hell is he even close to being one of the people you throw out there? It blows my mind.
It's
But
crazy
yeah,
because
I just
we
want to
have
say that.
because like Sean Payton and Mike Westhoff are like the two best special team coaches of like all
Yeah.
time. It's so weird. And then yeah, Sertan dude, that's like when is the last time you think Sertan played on special teams? Like freshman year at Alabama, probably, maybe.
Probably,
You
yeah,
know,
probably like
I
high
don't
school.
even if that, like I don't know, like true
Yeah,
freshman in high school, maybe.
yeah.
Except for being, like returner, probably. But so yeah, when's the last time he's played special teams and then he gets flagged? Like, what do you expect? He hasn't
It's like,
played
yeah,
that
like
position.
obviously, I didn't even
Yeah,
blame him for that penalty. I was like, yeah, of
I
course he's gonna
know.
get flagged. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Like, it's insane.
Yeah,
Football's a hard sport. It really is. Like I mentioned, defenses are getting more complex and more complex. I think Denver's done a good job defensively through two games. They've given their offense more than enough chances to take advantage of it. So, um, I think I correctly estimated how good Denver's defense was, but most definitely overestimated the offense. We'll see how next week looks. It's a tough matchup. It's the best team they've played so far. Tampa's offense is rolling, so we'll have to see how that looks. Uh, I will say though, if Denver's rush defense looks bad against Tampa Bay, oh, there's some big issues because that Tampa rush offense is not good. Their defense is good though, so if Bo looks
yeah, but
better,
they're
we'll
they're
see. But
they're injured. They're very injured, but they'll. I mean, they're still very good against the Lions, even with all those backups
yeah,
out there.
yeah,
Oh, like Winfield was out. I'm hoping he doesn't play this game. Um, because
yeah.
that
It's
dude
hard.
Winfield,
That's a
oh my god, Winfield against he's gonna be playing mind games with Knicks if he does play.
Oh yeah, he's elite. He would be a perfect guy as kind of that like hybrid tweener. I think he's the more modern. We just had a bunch of guys who aren't in the league anymore, but like, but he's a perfect example of kind of that 4-3 because Tampa plays a 4-3, so he's
Yeah.
the kind of guy
Oh, probably the most prominent right now is Derwin James. I would say he's like that.
yes, yeah, Derwin, yeah, he's the most prominent. He's probably the best one like that. They use Justin Simmons like that a lot over the last few seasons because he's such a good tackler. Um,
Javon Holland,
But yeah,
maybe.
it's hmm, which one?
I said Javon Holland, kinda.
Which guy did you say?
Oh shit, you're breaking up. Oh look.
Yeah, Holland's
Oh,
another
there we go.
guy. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot. If you're it's so bad right now, I don't know what. It's like my router is literally like 10 feet away. I don't understand why it's so bad. But all right, I guess that's a sign to sign it off. I guess no predictions again this week. But dude,
Yeah,
it's hard to do predictions and also talk about it without going for like 4 hours. So
I know, right? I
um,
mean, that's like we need 2 episodes, I guess, per week.
yeah,
Um, but anyways, yeah, that was good podcast for sure. I like the little prompt stuff, and then lots of
yeah.
Bronco. We've talked about the Broncos. I think we talked about them for 40 minutes because we started talking about them at the 40-minute mark, and
Oh yeah,
now we're at
around then.
123. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. There's a lot to
yeah,
talk about for him. I'm
yeah.
sure there'll be more to talk about next week, but That's gonna do it for this episode. I also will say 16 days until the Nuggets play a basketball game.
Abu Dhabi,
Abu Dhabi against Boston,
which
Friday, 10
altitude
a.m.
inside information, altitude TV is not broadcasting a preseason game.
Oh, is there not any of them?
Any of them, yeah.
Oh, what the hell? Uh, someone's broadcasting this one. I think NBA TV is
NBA
on both of
TV,
these.
yeah.
Yeah. So we'll get to those games as well because that'll be very very fun. We'll probably have to talk about Nuggets at some point soon because they're gonna have their media day a little earlier. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode. We will see what happens in week 3 when Denver goes to Tampa. Hopefully, just some signs of life. I don't expect them to win. I just hope that there's some juice in the offense. But yeah, it's gonna do it for this